What's good, people? It's Chi Brown for Consider Culture, and today I'm going to get into this Garrett Foster case. I forgot it. I keep forgetting his last name. So Garrett Foster was a gentleman who was killed in Austin, Texas, following a Black Lives Matter march that he was a part of. Apparently, he had been a part of it for 50 days or so, him and his fiance. And we're going to get into this real quick. I'm not trying to drag this out with a whole bunch of talking here. So what we have here is Twitter, lovely Twitter, and we have Garrett and his fiance here. So this is a post. It says, "Today I talked to the mothers of Garrett Foster, the man shot and killed last night at the protest in Austin, and his fiance, Whitney Mitchell. The couple met in North Texas when they were teens. Foster cared for Mitchell, a quadruple amputee, full time." So obviously they're trying to create a narrative right away. First, they're putting up a photo of this happy interracial couple, and they are making a note of the fact that she was a quadruple amputee that he cared for full time. So we're playing up the fact that he was a good guy. I mean, he seems like he was a good guy to his fiance here. That goes without saying. What a lot of people don't seem to realize is good guys can make mistakes as well. Everybody who is good also has done bad. It's just the nature of humans, right? So anyway, I just want to make note of that real quick. Last night, Garrett Foster was murdered in Austin, Texas. Garrett was pushing his wife's wheelchair at a Black Lives Matter march when a man drove into the march and shot Garrett. Rest in power, Garrett. Okay, I'm sure there's a lot more to the story than that, but this guy seems to think that's all that needs to be stated. Garrett was pushing his wife's wheelchair. Again, they're playing up the fact that his wife, or it wasn't his wife, I think it was his fiance, was, handicapped. And he was just this nice gentleman pushing her in this thing at a protest. Another guy says, Garrett Foster was murdered last night peacefully protesting at a Black Lives Matter protest in Austin, Texas, with his fiancee, Whitney, who is a quadruple amputee because of serious medical negligence. She was thrown off her wheelchair and he was shot 3 times. Medical negligence. Now, how does he know that much? Was it medical negligence? Who knows? We don't know why his fiancee is a quadruple amputee, but is it because it could be? Who knows? But to me, it's like, okay, we got a victim. He was a victim, and she was a victim, and he was so nice. He was so lovingly taking care of this victim, his fiance who was victimized. It's painting that narrative once again. So the question now becomes, was Garrett? What was he doing and why did he get shot? And for that, we'll go back to see what police officers have said about the case.
At the scene of the shootings, officers spoke with multiple witnesses that described several different versions of the incident. Witnesses reported a disturbance began when a vehicle started honking its horn as it turned southbound onto Congress from 4th Street. The vehicle stopped as there were a large number of people in the roadway. Mr. Foster, who was holding an AK-47 type assault rifle, approached the driver's side window as others in the crowd began striking the vehicle. Gunshots were fired from inside the vehicle at Mr. Foster. During the initial investigation of this incident, it appears that Mr. Foster may have pointed his weapon at the driver of this vehicle prior to being shot.
Okay. Now that's the missing piece of the story that we didn't get from the other gentleman there who posted on Twitter, is that this guy had an AK-47 pointed at the driver of the car. Well, that's an important piece that the Twitter folks were missing. Was he a peaceful protester if he had an AK-47? Why did he have an AK-47? Let's see.
Tell us a little bit about your gun again.
It's AK-47.
What you got it out tonight?
They don't let us march in the streets anymore, so got to practice some of our rights.
Cool, man. Do you feel like you'll need to use it?
Nah, I think the I mean, if I use it against the cops, I'm dead. And I think all the people that hate us and, you know, want to say shit to us are too big of pussies to stop and actually do anything about it. So,
Why'd you start carrying?
well, our roommate got arrested and they stopped letting us march anywhere, so started carrying.
All right. Well, that didn't make any sense. You know, he's sitting there with the AK-47, right? That's what that weapon is on his shoulder there, or that you see. I think he's got basically on his left shoulder is the harness for it, and then you see the stock of the gun right there on the right. On his right, it's on our left, it's his right shoulder. So I know my right from my left. I just want y'all to see that. So anyway, it doesn't make sense, the answers he's giving. Like they're asking him, okay, you know, Mr. Garrett, like, why do you have this AK-47 out here? And he's like, well, I'm carrying it because they didn't allow us to walk in the street anymore. And they arrested my roommate. Okay. Now, does that seem like a reasonable response to, or reasonable reason? Does that seem like a reason to have an AK-47? Because, oh, the police won't let us march in the street anymore. So because we have to march on the sidewalk, maybe I should carry an AK-47 because the sidewalk is much more dangerous than the street. No, that doesn't make any sense. Then he goes on to say that, you know, his roommate got arrested. So, okay, if your roommate got arrested, what, you got to explain why you're carrying the weapon still just because she got arrested. Do you think that the AR-47 is going to bring less attention from the police or more? Or is your intent to basically intimidate police officers so that they don't arrest you? I mean, is that the case? He says he doesn't want to shoot officers because if he shoots officers, he knows that they will shoot him. It's not like he wouldn't shoot them if he didn't think he would get killed. If he could just get away with shooting them, he'd be all right. But since officers tend to shoot back, yeah, I don't think I want to get into a shootout with police officers. It just doesn't make sense what he's saying here. He's basically saying, okay, I want it to intimidate. And then he talks about, you know, the pussies that don't like us, that hate us. They're going to think twice, basically, because I have this firearm. So it seems to me that his basis for having this firearm is to intimidate. You know, if you want a firearm for protection, you have a concealed weapon. You know, you carry a 9mm, a 380, even a 25, you know, some sort of a 22. You want something that is concealable that you can have just in case something happens. You pull it out then, and then you can use it to defend yourself. But to have an AR-15 or AK-47. By the way, these are the weapons that the left claim to be assault rifles. So if we're talking about something that is effectively an assault rifle, to the left, you would think that the left would be on his case about having this out there. I don't see many people confronting him about, like, get this gun out of here. They said he was out there for 50 days. He'd been out there for 50 days. Maybe, I don't know if we've gotten to that part, but there's a part where someone mentions him being out there with his wife with that weapon for 50 days. He's been out there for 50 days. So nobody thought to say, hey, Garrett, maybe you should lose the weapon, dude. I mean, what's the purpose? Now, that's not to say that I'm not someone who exercises their Second Amendment rights. I'm all for Second Amendment rights. I have an AR-15 myself, but I don't brandish it, take it out and brandish it. I take it to the range, you know. If I'm going to walk around with a weapon on me, it's going to be concealed. It's not going to be something that is going to be out there for you to see. I don't get There's no purpose. Like I can get when somebody is going to exercise they're protesting for their right to have to carry firearms. So, you protest. You do Second Amendment rallies, for example. People are brandishing weapons. That is to make a point, right? That we like our Second Amendment, and we want to keep our ability to carry these firearms. I get it. That there's a point for that. But you're protesting the police shooting black people, and you're out there with an AK-47. What's the purpose? You really have to explain to me. The purpose can't be, oh, my friend got arrested, so now I carry this, or they won't let us march in the street, so now I carry this. So that makes absolutely zero amount of sense. But then when he starts calling his detractors pussies, it makes complete sense to me, because you're out there and you're trying to intimidate people. And I think that's exactly what got this guy killed. He brandished the weapon to somebody who was honking the horn because they wanted him to get out of the way, right? They want him and other protesters to get out of the way. He comes and he wants to intimidate. That's why you'll see that all of them will run towards the vehicle when a vehicle starts honking the horn, because it wants people out of the way. They run towards the honking horn. Why? Because they wish to intimidate the person who's honking the horn. You should not be honking the horn at our peaceful protest, or a mostly peaceful protest. Don't honk the horn at our mostly peaceful protest. We're going to yell at you. We're going to beat on your car window, beat on the hood of your car, belittle you, curse at you, maybe spit on your car, do all kinds of things that we've seen done in other videos. We've seen people get pulled out of cars and beaten up, beaten unconscious as they've gotten pulled out of vehicles. We've seen little kids in the back seat of cars get shot to death. Anybody who's seen that happen doesn't want that to happen to them. So let's go on. You see this gentleman there in the box there behind that lady. Unfortunately, I can't point at it for you, but there's a gentleman in a hat. All you see is his kind of face behind the mask. You see the profile of his face there. And you see, if you look at his elbow, his right elbow sticking out there, you'll see that it looks like he has a firearm. That's how you would hold a rifle if you were getting ready to brandish it at someone. And then obviously you see the car there with the red lights and everything stopping. And he looks to be getting ready to point this weapon at this individual who is in the vehicle. He seems to be sort of behind the car. He's on the passenger side and kind of like the back of the car. And he seems to be lifting his firearm and moving. It looks like he's moving forward towards the vehicle. Now, why is that important? The forward motion towards the vehicle is important, as you'll see in a moment when we watch footage from the scene. Let's look at the footage. All right, so pay attention to the cars on the left of the screen, far left of the screen. You see the black vehicle there. Behind that black vehicle, I believe, is the vehicle where the gentleman who ultimately the driver of the car that's behind that black vehicle is the one who shoots Garrett Foster. And we'll see momentarily what that's going to look like. Every time. Let me rewind that real quick, because it's important. It's something that I missed there. You need to listen to when the horn starts to honk, right? Everybody back up! Wait, I missed the horn honk. Back up a little bit more. Now look at the direction people start going in when the car honks. They're going towards the car, right? Now, obviously, this is what it seems like to me. This gentleman was tired of waiting. The light was green. There are people in the way of the vehicles, of this black vehicle in front. He's getting upset because he's having to wait, and reasonably so. Like I've seen a lot of these videos. We've all seen a lot of these videos where these protesters just block traffic just to be jerks. They do it on purpose, right? It doesn't matter. The people in the cars could be on their side. It doesn't matter to them. They still want to be jerks. They're going to block the traffic. So this guy's beeping his horn. As soon as he beeps the horn, it's interesting that you see a lot of these protesters go towards his car. It's almost as if they're used to this kind of thing, and they're used to harassing the people who give them any grief about being in the way. So they're all moving towards this guy honking his horn. And I believe that this is something that protesters are used to. We've seen it before where protesters will embark upon a car and just surround the car and begin to beat on the car, beat on the glass, shake the car, pull people out of their cars and beat them. We've seen that as well. We've seen a lot of this kind of thing. So I think that this gentleman here was probably beeping the horn for them to get out of the way, and they descended upon the car as they often do, as they normally do. They've been doing this for 50 days now, so this is not new to them. Until somebody decides to shoot. They probably had intimidated many people before this moment, where they intimidate people, and this particular guy wasn't up for it. He wasn't having it. So let's look at another angle of this. All right, so what we have here, we don't have sound in this video, but what we have is the opposite side of the street from what we were just watching. And we're looking towards where the shooting is going to occur. We're at the opposite stoplight, the stoplight on the opposite side of the street. So this guy has a dashboard cam, and he has provided this footage to whoever. I just found it on the internet. But the light turns green, and he's able to move forward a little bit. But no, the protesters stop him. Nope. Then all of a sudden the horn beeps, and everybody runs towards the horn because they're going to harass the honker until he starts to begin to shoot. Now everybody's running the opposite direction. Again, this just shows you that these protesters are used to this kind of thing. They're used to people getting upset that they're in the way, and they're going to run towards anybody who gives them a hassle about being in the way. If they're beeping, if this guy's beeping at them and they're running towards the vehicle, what does that say to you? It says to me that they are used to being agitators, and that's what they like to do. I mean, we have to remember, we've had protesters who line up in the middle of highways to stop traffic to protest police. Why are you stopping regular people in the middle of the street if you're protesting the police? It makes absolutely zero sense, but that's what they're doing. They run towards the honking horn, and again, run way fast when people start shooting. That's what's going on here. Let's look at another angle again. Why can't we hear this? Shooting. Everybody runs. We've seen this part. Now this is kind of interesting. What's this woman says afterwards?
Drove up. We were taking the streets, and he shot Garrett. Garrett is the husband of Whitney, a quadriplegic in a wheelchair, and he is.
Okay, that's Garrett there. That's that same firearm, and that's his fiance beside him. Why does he have the firearm? I don't know.
Caretaker, and has been for like 10 years. I think he pointed the gun at her.
This lady went as far as to say the guy in the car pointed the gun at the quadriplegic fiance. Okay, lady, you weren't there.
Sorry, they've been out here for like all 50 days so far.
Holy shit. Yeah, I know who they are.
So that's what we're getting from this. I want to see. Go back to the main screen here. So, yeah, again, people, you have to bear with me. I had a COVID-19 test yesterday because I've been sick and I can't understand why. I've been out here in my mask, but yeah. So I don't know. This whole thing is strange to me because you have people on the left now who are carrying assault weapons, and nobody's saying anything. AK-47 is known to the left as an assault weapon. It's an assault rifle, right? If the left is describing it, that's what it is. Yet nobody has said one word about the fact that he was carrying an AK-47. Folks, this gentleman was carrying what the left likes to vilify as an assault rifle. That's what he was carrying. And nobody said any words, not one word about the fact that he was carrying this assault rifle. Again, that's not my term. That's the left's term for it. They want to call it an assault rifle up until one of their own is carrying it, and then he's just using it for defense. Now, I can remember just a few months ago, the Ahmaud Arbery case was a big thing. And you had people on the left talking about why would private citizens be carrying guns in the first place, right? Y'all remember that. Why would private citizens be carrying guns? Fast forward, we got COVID-19 becomes a big problem. People start running to gun stores and buying guns. And you know, a lot of these people are of the left because they're afraid that people might start to get on some Walking Dead stuff where they're robbing each other for toilet paper and you know, things of that nature, rice and such and so forth. So I think people were scared, so they went out and they bought guns. But now you see protesters have gone out in the streets with guns. You saw this black militant group dressed in all black going out with all their AR-15s and AK-47s. The left didn't say a word. They were protesting in the actual neighborhood of Ahmaud Arbery, where Ahmaud Arbery was shot, the McMichaels neighborhood, Satilla Shores, and nobody said a word. They were basically making soft threats and intimidating people with these big rifles, assault rifles, as the left would call them. Nobody said a word. Now we're seeing the left, other members of the left, white male. This is a white cis-gendered male, right? Who's walking around with an AK-47 at a protest. Not one word. Not one word. All we're hearing is about how great of a guy he was with his fiance, his black fiance, who does not have arms and legs anymore because she's an amputee. So he's a great guy because of that, right? What about the AK-47? If this guy was on the right and he had an AK-47, you better believe that they would be vilifying him on all major media stations right now. Instead, we get these headlines that make this guy out to be a saint. It doesn't make sense to me. Folks, I want to say a lot more about this case, but right now my cough won't allow me to. I'm having to stop and push pause so frequently. But I do want to say that this seems like a very odd case where the left is allowed to brandish assault weapons and nobody's saying anything about it. When the right does it, you know, the couple who pulled guns out because protesters were on their front lawn, the left was all up in arms about these people having a weapon. This gentleman was aiming his weapon at a person who was just trying to get through the crowd of people. He's just trying to go wherever he was trying to go, and he ended up firing on this guy. Now, the police have let this gentleman go. Right? They let him go, and we're gonna see what happens once the autopsy. See what the autopsy shows. But if the autopsy shows, I think the autopsy will show that he was probably in a position like this. Maybe we'll be able to tell that from the autopsy. Not sure. But I don't know if other protesters are going to be willing to say what happened. The police are asking that if anybody else has any footage from a different direction, that they provide that footage. But these guys, they want to keep the narrative what it is. And I don't know that protesters would be willing to share footage that shows a gentleman lifting his firearm towards the shooter. I don't know if they want that narrative to get out there too tight, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Again, it's just a weird and awkward situation, and I wish I wasn't so my throat wasn't so agitated by whatever this is I have, so that I could talk a little bit more about it. But I've given you enough. I appreciate you all watching. I appreciate I appreciate you all watching. Remember to subscribe, share, like, and comment. And I will catch you all next time. I'm out.
No more Yaza Baza.